condition in which someone believes their loved ones have been replaced by doubles or imposters.
Capgras syndrome is very real and very scary, but luckily for you and I, it's also very rare. For those of you who still don't understand, let me paint you a better picture. Imagine you're trying to meet up with some family over the holiday. While you're on the road, you decide to look down and change the radio station, and then you wake up in a hospital bed where the doctor tries to explain to you what just happened. You were in a car accident, but don't worry, you weren't banged up too bad. How do you feel? The doctor asked. You reply, I feel fine. But you were lying. You just didn't know how to describe this new feeling. Confused, dizzy. It's almost like you're lost in a fog and can't get out. The hospital calls your mother to come pick you up, and when she gets there, she berates you with questions, concerned for your well-being. You don't answer her though, because to you, she's a complete stranger. Something's different. Is it her looks? Her tone? Or maybe she's completely different than you remember. You start to wonder why the hospital thinks this person is your mother. Come to think about it, is this even a real hospital after all? Are these people even real doctors? Your life starts to spiral. Feels like this is one big joke and everybody's in on it but you. This is Capgras syndrome.
Also happening today, a LaPouche Parish judge is expected to decide whether or not a man accused of beheading his disabled son is fit to stand trial. Jeremiah Wright is accused of killing 7-year-old Jory Lorette last August and leaving his head on the front porch.
On August 14th, 2011, Jeremiah Wright would come to terms with the fact that his 7-year-old son, Jory Lorette, who suffers from cerebral palsy, was replaced by the government with a CPR dummy to teach him about life. Jory was sadly bound to a wheelchair and fed through a tube. He often defecated and threw up on himself because of his condition. To Jeremiah, these were all signs that this in fact was not his son anymore. To prove it, Jeremiah decapitated and mutilated poor Jory while the two of them were home alone together. Later that day, Jessalyn Lorette would come home to find her baby's head waiting for her in the driveway. The rest of Jory's body was discovered in pieces hidden away in trash bags inside the home. Experts would find Jeremiah incapable to stand trial. It wasn't until 3 years later, on February 14th, 2014, that Jeremiah Wright would stand in front of a jury full of his peers, and the jury would find Jeremiah not guilty due to reasons of insanity. Jeremiah Wright was placed inside the state mental institution shortly after his trial. He will stay in there as long as his mental status proves he is a danger to himself or others, Carrie Kucha, Wright's attorney, explained. If there ever becomes a point where the hospital staff feels he is not a danger to himself or others, the staff can go to the court and ask a judge to change that status. And that's where the story ends. Okay, fuck. Yes, sadly, this is the whole story. But I can't just post this without adding my 2 cents into the mix. First, I want to add that Capgras syndrome is a real thing and it affects many people. Not just those who suffer from it, but from the people around them as well. Also, Capgras syndrome doesn't make everyone wildly violent, obviously, but that's not the weird part of this video. The weird part is that while I was doing research, I found this news clip from WDS News on YouTube.
Family and friends of a Thibodeau boy murdered just a week ago will gather to honor his memory. WDSU News reporter Tiffany Bradley joins us live this morning with how Jory Lorette will be remembered. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning, Randy. As family and friends prepare to say their final goodbyes to Jory Lorette, last night they received an outpouring of support from hundreds of people in the small, close-knit community of Thibodeau. Take a look at the huge crowd out there at the memorial service for 7-year-old Jory. This was last night. About a week ago, police say Jory's life was tragically cut short at the hands of his own father, Jeremiah Wright. Wright confessed to decapitating and dismembering his son's body. He told authorities he was tired of caring for the young boy who suffered from cerebral palsy.
Okay, did you hear that? Jeremiah told police he killed this beautiful child because he was tired of taking care of him. Another thing that stood out in this case was that Jessalyn told police that she tried to evict Jeremiah out of their home a week before the murder. So was the stress of the child and the eviction too much for him? Or was it just the trigger that caused the symptoms to worsen? I guess that's the part for you to decide. Either way, the whole story is a big tragedy for everyone involved. Anyways, I've been your host, AG, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe.